Howdy. Welcome to my run cast. It's been unbelievably cold in the mornings, so I've been having a really hard time running in the morning because it's so cold. So I've been having a bit of a rough week. I'm very ready to cry, like at a pin drop. I'm crying all the time. I just went to Rambaugh's, and 3 of his boys, all of whom are my training partners, are fighting this Thursday. So they're just cutting weight right now. And so I was just gonna hit the bag. I was just gonna do my own shadow boxing and my own work and stuff like this. And he was like, "Come over, I'm gonna like hold pads for you," blah blah blah. And Rambaugh's wonderful. He's very intense. He's actually a very good teacher. And he's very smart in the way that he like pinpoints things and chooses what he's going to show you and corrections he's going to make and things like this. He is a little bit like severe, and I can't really qualify that because I think that that kind of chemistry takes place based on the component of the person and the component of the teacher. I don't think it's that way for everybody, but for me, that chemistry causes a kind of like volatility that I was just on the verge of tears doing like handwork with him, which is ridiculous because none of it was scary. He wasn't hitting me, he wasn't overwhelming me, I wasn't tired. It was a little bit intense for me because I'm a little bit like ready to cry at a pin drop. It happens. But what I wanted to talk about was this kind of dynamic that I've noted from being in gyms for so long out here in Thailand. And it's the kind of thing that like I don't think that you would notice if you just like walked into a gym, or even if you spent months at a gym. I think it took like a really long time and of seeing like a repeated pattern in this for me to understand that this is a thing. But I find it really interesting. So there was like many years ago, I was training at Duuglas-Ittu gym in Bangkok for a short time. And it happened to be while the Thai national team was training, getting ready to go to IFMA. And so there were women there. There was like Sausing, Loma, and Chomani, maybe just those 3. But this is like royalty of female Muay Thai from a couple years ago. People know Loma now because she's in the UFC. Sausing people might be familiar with because she was kind of the face of Channel 8 Muay Hardcore, Muay Super Champ a couple years ago. And people probably don't know Chomani unless they follow me, but she was amazing. She was wonderful. And when we did our Muay Khao Summit and she was there as like kind of a mentor for the women in the summit to work with, Karahat would watch her and he's like, her style is the same as me, which honestly, like, I don't think she ever heard that, but what a fucking compliment. It was amazing. Anyway, Duuglas-Ittu is like a super old school gym. It's been Ajahn Surat has trained the Thai national team there for a very long time, but prior to that, he's just like, so many champions have gone through his hands, people who don't even use his names, you don't even know, but you're like, he definitely worked with that person. Like, he's incredible. And so what plays out in that space is kind of like the haunted house echo chamber of like all time, sort of, in a kind of amazing way. But something that I noticed was that the girls would purposefully, like during a break, put it upon themselves to go get water for everybody, or to kind of like do the little like chore type stuff that'll take place. This is usually taken care of by younger fighters. So like in a normal gym, the little kids will be the ones whose job it is to call time, get water for fighters. If there's a fighter getting ready for a fight, the boys will stop what they're doing and like go massage the arms and legs of the fighter who's getting ready to fight to kind of like take care of him. And it's just kind of a like hierarchical thing. And what was interesting to me about the women taking on this role is they were not told to do this. They were not even expected to do this. They took it upon themselves as a kind of cheat to get a little bit more of a break. Like, I'll do that because then I won't have to be on the pads immediately, kind of thing. And this was so fascinating to me because as a woman in a male space coming from the West and kind of understanding my position in a gym from many different layers than these women understand their position in the gym, as a foreigner, as someone who's came to this older, outside of the culture, woman, like all of these different things, white, all of these different things. So I was always jockeying to not be put in that position. Like, I knew that if I picked up the equipment, if I helped sweep, if I helped clean, I would just be put in the role of like, oh, well, you're a woman, you're acting like a woman, you're going to be a woman kind of thing, that was outside of being treated like a fighter. And I'm not saying that these 3 women were not being treated like fighters. They absolutely are. I'm saying that in a gym, in a nuanced way, there's a hierarchy where like the littler kids or the women or whatever the thing is will take on these roles. And it's expected of the little kids. Like, that's your job, and you will be like kind of told to do this. But if you choose to do it, you're putting yourself in that position now. And the reason this came back up is that at Rambaz gym, there are these 3 boys that are all pretty much the same age. I think they're 14 right now, but they'll be turning 15 soon. And I think that they're close enough in age that like they all turn 15 within a year of each other, like within the same year or something. So when the age is really close like that, the hierarchy is mainly based on age in Thailand. So there's class stuff and whatever, but like I don't see that. Like it's mostly age. And there's a huge difference between 2 of these boys in the way that they're kind of treated at the gym. And I can't figure out the chicken or egg kind of situation here of like, one of them puts himself in that lower position and the other one kind of elevates himself out of that position. And I don't know really whether it's fully choosing this or if it's their nature and so it kind of like sifted out that way, or whether the gym kind of treats them differently that way and it kind of pushed it in that direction. But one of the boys, when he fights, is a little bit meaner. Like, he's a little bit more, I don't know, manly for a kid. Like, he's a little bit more like in the fight, whereas the other one fights a little bit more still like a kid, and he's a little bit trepidatious and kind of doesn't want to get like into the mix of it and stuff like this. And there are people who you don't have to call into question their masculinity or whatever. The thing is, this is just the type of fighter that they are. But the one that's a little bit tougher and meaner has a little bit more of a like older feel to him. He's not a bully, but he's got a little bit of the like, I'm the bigger dog in the gym kind of thing. And he's got a little bit of a I'm a bigger dog in the ring kind of thing. And the other one seems to take on like volunteer for, I'll get out and get water for people. I'll be the one who's going to massage this older fighter. I'll be the one who's going to do these things, because it's a way to get a break in exactly the same way that the women were doing this at Desrat. And I see this all the time. So like, this is a dynamic that I'm familiar with. I know exactly what's happening. I've seen it so many times. I understand it. It's not confusing. Like, it took me a while to like, oh, I've seen this so many times. The thing to me that's interesting is like, is it something kind of natural to their personalities that the one that decides to kind of like stay a kid and be like, yes, I'll keep taking care of the older ones, I'll keep being kind of lower on the ladder, he's like choosing to be a little kid. He's like choosing to stay at the kids' table. Whereas the other one, he's not like, fuck you, I'm not gonna go get you water. He just doesn't volunteer for it. If he's told to do something, he goes and does it. Like, sometimes Rambaz is like, go move those tires, or like get this ready, or like move these blocks for the little kids, or whatever the thing is. And they just go do it, and then they come back to their work. But this one that's a little bit tougher, that's like, I'm not a kid, does not volunteer it. Like, he doesn't jump to it. He's not looking for those little breaks. He's not trying to like extend his juvenile state or whatever the thing is. And I find this so interesting as an observer because I would never be asked to move stuff like that in this gym. I would never be thinking about what position that puts me in if I were not in a foreign land. Like, if I were in America, I'm a very helpful person. I feel like it's valuable to be helpful. You're being a good girl if you're helpful. So I'm totally the person who would be like, oh, let me help clean that up, let me be the last to leave, let me move these things or whatever. And I had to like go against what feels polite and what feels good to me because it sends a message, because it puts me in a particular spot. And it, at my age, it's not going to make me like a little kid. That's because these boys are on this kind of like cusp of adolescence or whatever. But it does put me in a like gendered position. It puts me in a kind of like role I don't want to be slotted into, because once you start acting like that and you get slotted into that, it's very hard to pull yourself back out. And I don't think that's the case with boys, because they do just grow up. So like if this one that has been extending his youth as the little kid just decided to stop doing these tasks, I think they'd just start treating him more like an adult immediately. Like I think it's kind of like an overnight kind of thing, because someone younger would fill that spot, which I think is interesting. I just found this super beautiful spirit house in the woods. I'm going to show it to you. Usually when they get discarded, there'll be like a pile of them and they're a little bit like derelict. But this one, it looks like has been put here operatively, like actually for the spirits of this area. It's not maintained. Like there's no stuff in it. It should have little dolls or offerings, which would be cigarettes or drinks. It's a lot of drinks usually, but there's almost always dolls in there. So that's just like happens to be still super beautiful. They burned this area pretty recently. You can see how like charred it is? And the bottom of that thing is burnt, which means it was here when that happened. Welcome to Sylvie's As I Observe Shit cast. Alright, I hope that was mildly interesting to everybody. Peace out.